Horse Racing Northwest, another edition of our podcast originating from Emerald Downs. Joe Withy along with Vince Brune here in the TV room. Popular spot for us Emerald Downs employees involved in certain areas of business. And usually it's kind of chilly in here, but the temperature is decent today.
It's not bad. In fact, I almost thinking about taking off my coat.
Yeah.
I thought I was ahead of the game bringing it, but I didn't need it. But anyhow, yeah, we're getting closer to the kickoff for 2022.
Indeed. Opening day, Sunday, May 15th for Emerald Downs 2022 season. So that's just 3.5 weeks away. Got some news on that. And, of course, the Kentucky Derby coming up Saturday, May 7th. We'll be open for that, Vince. For fans and watching and wagering, we'll have the race on the big screen. We'll have some more details on Saturday, May 7th, but one key number is 7 a.m. The fifth floor opens at 7 a.m. Fifth floor. I got to say that one slowly. 7 a.m. on Derby Day, May 7th, and we'll have the hat contest as well. But Anthony Stabile is going to join us, the Big A. So many years he joined us on the Win Place show, and had an outstanding run, especially in New York races. But really, he was a really good addition to our Win Place show. And, of course, Anthony, an occasional guest here on Horse Racing Northwest. He's going to give us his take on the Kentucky Derby picture, which to me, just on the surface, lots of different horses have performed well this winter and spring.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear Anthony's thoughts on it. Looks to me like the A contenders, there's probably about 5 or 6 of them I think you could put on that list this year, and then you got about maybe 6 or 7 intermediate type horses, and then maybe 7 horses that really are going to be up against it. But, you know, for those superfectas and penafectas, which pay huge in the Derby, you know, if you can get a horse clunk up to 4th or 5th, that can really enhance the pay. And I should say the Kentucky Oaks this year looks like it's going to be an outstanding race too, the day before the Derby. And great cards, both for the Oaks and the Derby at Churchill Downs.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, May 7th is Derby Day, first Saturday in May. Okay, so some other news. And by the way, Anthony Stabile is going to join us. Mike Puhich is also going to join us on Horse Racing Northwest, Emerald Downs trainer, having a good run at Oaklawn this winter and spring. Background, our Long Acres Mile hero from last August is coming off a victory back there.
Sure is. Earned a career-high 89 buyer. I believe he's now 4 for 6 at a mile. He just loves that distance, and he's got a beautiful style for a mile because he's going to finish strong, and he's going to be in contention early. And he kind of came away from a good field there. He kind of dominated there. So, boy, he still might be improving, and we'll talk to Mike about that. But, yeah, an exciting prospect. And you mentioned Mike's had an outstanding season, not with Bob and Molly Rondo, and also Dr. Mark DiDomenico's had 4 or 5 wins down there. So Mike's doing great work.
Yeah, he's well over 20% on the win average, which is awesome at that very competitive Oaklawn meet. Okay, so 3.5 weeks to opening day at Emerald Downs. Horses growing on the track. Training day video. You can go to YouTube. Type in Emerald Downs Training Day. We'll have a fresh video tomorrow, Thursday. Couple in the books already. And those are just around 3 minutes or so. Hey, how about this news? 14.7% takeout on Emerald Downs win, place, and show wagers this year, Vince. That's down from a good figure of just about 16% over the history.
I think that's might be the lowest in the country, pretty close. And, you know, you and I like win wagers. So
definitely.
That is, yeah, that's terrific. Anything that helps the horse players, I'm always for.
14.7% to start the meet on win, place, and show wagering. So that's going to help. And we also have a sprint series now designated for 2022. And the name of it is what, the Hollywood Harbor Sprint Series?
It is, and we all know Jody Peets, who owned Hollywood Harbor, 2016 Horse of the Meet, Obie Harbor. I got it here. It's the Hollywood Harbor Sprint Series, and it's a starter series. So there's 3 races. The first leg will be Saturday, July 23rd, and they're going to go 5.5 furlongs for a nice $17,000 purse. The second leg, Saturday, August 6th, Also at 5.5 furlongs, that's an 18,000 purse. These are all for 3-year-olds and up. And then the final leg is a starter allowance, $21,500 purse, Saturday, August 20th at 6 furlongs. So that's something we'll be talking about more as the season goes on. Really great, because those are going to be some tough races for mid to lower level claiming horses.
Awesome.
So a chance to earn some money and fans something to follow too. So that'll be great.
And there'll be some claiming going on in that series. Looking forward to the next leg. And named after Hollywood Harbor, Jody's horse, who still holds the North American dirt record for 5.5 furlongs.
I think it's a minute .87.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And then, we talked about Obi Harbor, who she also owned, had that terrific meet where he ran the fastest time, I think 3 different sprints.
You just gave away one of the answers to last week's trivia
Oops,
question.
Okay. Well,
No,
if it's last
okay.
week's answer, then
That's
it's
right.
okay.
Last week's answer. He's one of the 5.
But Jody's had some fast horses.
Obi Harbor, only one loss that year. That was in the Long Acres Mile, and Point Piper set a state record to win that race.
Obi Harbor ran fine.
Yes, he did. Also, let's have some happy birthday wishes to Howard Hammer. He's been part of Washington racing since the 1960s. He's going to have his 102nd birthday on May 4th.
Wow.
He's celebrated so many of them at Emerald Downs. And Howard, along with his wife Dee, hey, happy birthday wishes. That is one tough guy, a logger, CEO of a logging company, but he got out there, and I think he's got like 75 logging trophies for competitions.
Yeah. And we saw Howard at the banquet last month, and he is a robust, now 102.
Yeah. Okay, and in the Emerald Racing Club, Vince in charge of that. It's back for another year. You can certainly join in and be part, be a horse owner for just a one-time fee, Vince.
One-time fee of $500. That includes a season pass, and you'll be part owner. We got our first horse, a 3-year-old filly named One Fine Day. She's down at Phoenix right now. Had to work there last week. She's a 3-year-old filly by Cantharos. Shown a lot of speed in her races. So let's hope her speed carries well up here for Jeff Metz. But yes, we're about 60% of the way full, so still plenty of room in the 2022 Emerald Racing Club. Call me at 253-288-7723. Email me at vinceb@emeralddowns.com. Or go to emeralddowns.com, and we have a registration sheet there, and we got an Emerald Racing Club tab with lots more information on the club. But I'll guarantee you won't think it's a bad deal if you do it. And you'll learn a lot about horse ownership and the ups and downs that come with, having your own little sports franchise. So it's a lot of fun.
And I'll say this about Vince, no knock, but, he wasn't necessarily an early morning guy in his first several years at this track. Certainly put in the hours, no question about that. But he wasn't an early morning guy. Then he became head of the Emerald Racing Club, and he's out here 3 days a week at 7:30 a.m. With club members, showing them around, taking them to barns, watching morning training. So that's changed your lifestyle a little bit.
And it is fun to teach, people. We got a lot of people who come back from year to year, but every year we have a lot of new people too. And the more questions, the better. The ones I can't answer in the terms of the horse's anatomy and all the specifics, on all that, I know a little bit, but certainly like Jeff Metz, our trainer, answers all those, and we'll have a get-together with Jeff at the barn here pretty soon too, and then we'll have a big orientation on May 29th. So, yes, plenty of room.
Good. Emerald Racing Club, contact Vince if you'd like to get in. Just, again, one-time fee, and you are a horse owner with some nice perks. So that's our first segment. Again, Anthony Stabile is going to join us. We're going to talk a little Kentucky Derby picture, and trainer Mike Puhich. If we didn't mention it earlier, Mike is in charge of the Glen Todd Horse Dispersal. Unfortunately, Glen Todd left us. It's trite to say he was super important in the Northwest horse racing industry, especially, of course, in British Columbia. But big presence here at Emerald Downs in racing and sales. Glenn passed away, and he's got 31 horses that are going to be sold starting next week. We'll get to that. We'll take a short break and be back with Anthony Stabile here on Horse Racing Northwest. Horse Racing Northwest continues from Emerald Downs as we get closer to our 2022 meeting, our 27th season here, Vince. And Vince in charge of the racing club. He's got our media guide out, which is, boy, I'll put it up against any in the country for facts and figures. Again, we got on top of it early here at Emerald Downs, and we have a lot of good stuff in here.
Sure did. You guys established a great database, so all I've had to do is basically update it every year. And
but you enjoy that part of it too.
I enjoy it. It keeps me up to date. And as you said, Joe, you know how many tracks around the country have no idea who like their all-time wins leader or earnings leader and all that is. And, you know, because record keeping and racing, there's no national organization or certainly Equibase since 91, but it's scattershot. But here, it's all pretty accurate and up to date.
It's great for you in doing rap stories, you know, noting milestones, and same with me as a broadcaster as well. Just knowing sometimes they're fairly obscure, but a lot of times they aren't. And we have the data in this media guide.
It's noting achievement, which is great because a lot of hard work goes into training and owning and riding and breeding and all that. And that's what's neat about every new year. We're going to have some champions develop this year, you know, and there's going to be some surprises and not surprises. But a race meeting is pretty cool. So every year being able to update is kind of interesting and fun.
Okay. And again, Kentucky Derby Day is Saturday, May 7th. Gates open at 7 a.m. That'll be the 5th floor at Emerald Downs. You can go onto the 5th floor, first come, first serve on seating. So 7 a.m. on Saturday, May 7th. Churchill Downs Racing starts at 7:30. The second floor, track level, and the third floor are open at 11 a.m. The Derby race itself is a little after 3:30. So 11 a.m., second and third floors open. We got a little Derby festivities, party-type atmosphere down on track level. And then the hat contest, that is back. A lot of people like to get involved. Between 1 and 2 p.m., show up around the winner's circle area at Emerald Downs and get your hats judged. We'll have prizes in many categories. The hat contest winners will be announced around 3:30. So winner's circle to get your hats judged about between 1 and 2 p.m. And we'll have mint juleps. And, of course, the big screen will be operational. You can watch the Kentucky Derby there. And you can also wager on the Kentucky Derby right here at Emerald Downs as well. So lots of times 9-2, 5-1 favorites in the Derby with that 20-horse field. As you mentioned earlier, boy, those exotics can just get huge.
Yeah, and Derby is two things. Isn't a Derby, it's a hat, right? Traditionally, isn't it a Derby? And then from racing parlance, and like with the racing club, most people don't know that. A Derby means a race for 3-year-olds. You know, 3-year-old, well, I'm not going to say 3-year-old males because fillies can run in it, but a Oaks is for 3-year-old fillies. Now, that wasn't always the case because the Spokane Derby, we had a horse that won it like 3 or 4 times.
That just went in my mind,
Maybe
Ruth
that
Parton,
was just, Ruth Parton, when she went in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
that kind of had to double check it, but it was true. So maybe that was just a regional thing or whatever, but pretty safe to say nowadays a Derby is a race for 3-year-olds.
Okay. May 7th, the Kentucky Derby. And, hey, let's watch and listen to some race audio and video of a recent winner that has some Kentucky Derby importance to it.
3/4 went in 1:11 and 2. It is early voting, trying to take them wire to wire here. Early voting in front. Mo Donegal comes on through down on the inside to grab second. It is early voting in front. A challenge here from Mo Donegal. Early voting trying to hold on with a 16th to the finish. Mo Donegal bearing down on the outside. It's Mo Donegal and early voting, and it is Mo Donegal. Mo Donegal won the Remsen here as a 2-year-old, and he comes back to win today's 97th running of the Wood Memorial.
Mo Donegal took the Wood Memorial with that great finish, and he is one of the ones near the top of the list on Kentucky Derby points, and really no better guy to talk about horse racing. Kentucky Derby, sure. With the big A, Anthony Stabile joining us on Horse Racing Northwest. Anthony, great to hear your voice again. We certainly see you, but good to talk to you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I miss our, monthly visits, I guess, on the Win Play show. And I am happy to say that the whiz of the Wood Memorial would have let everybody down by about a neck. I liked early voting. I made a pretty big bet on him. So the streak would have ended. But yeah, it was a fun horse race. O'Donegal getting out of Gulfstream Park, I think it was big for him returning to the scene of his biggest win prior to the Memorial, the Remsen last year. And yeah, let's hope us racing fans here in New York, hoping that O'Donegal can wave the flag and get the Wood Memorial back in the good graces of the Derby gods, if you will.
Anthony Big A Stabile, he's been involved in so many different areas of horse racing media the last 15 to 20 years. And but now you got a pretty good gig. Hey, man, you're working for a network. That's what everybody wants to do, Anthony. How's it going?
I am the content producer for NYRA Bets, doing a bunch of blogs every week. Still have my gig co-hosting Talking Horses with Andy Serling every morning before the races begin on the circuit. Been doing a lot of work on America's Day at the Races on the Fox Sports family networks. Looking forward to doing that throughout the summer. We're going to be adding some harness racing in. I am the resident harness guru, so I know we're going to have the Hambletonian again like we had last year, sprinkling some other nights at the Big M. We do a lot of work with Churchill Downs, so a lot of those Downs after dark cards are going to include some harness racing from the Meadowlands. So, yeah, looking forward to staying in the mix and just doing whatever's needed, basically, over at the New York Racing Association. First time I've had a full-time job in a very long time, and it's nice to go to an office, and it's nice to, have my name plate on my desk and picture of my girlfriend on my desk and an old souvenir helmet from Roosevelt Raceway, which is now defunct here on Long Island, on my desk. It's nice to be able to have a place to call home, and it's when you're a kid running around Aqueduct in Belmont, the dream is always to work for NYRA, and I get to live my dream every day now.
Hey, Anthony, Vince here. Yeah, I like the Hambletonian. It's one of my favorite racing events of the year, so I'm glad you'll be working on that. And my heart died a little bit the other night when Pompano Park ran its final race night. I spent a few nights at Pompano, and it was just a shame to see a great place like that go. But anyway, the Hambletonian's a great event. I didn't realize you were so up on the harness guys.
I started my career, and like Joe so nicely introduced me, I started my career in the newspaper business like a lot of guys my age did. At my age, I just turned 45 a couple of weeks ago. But, back then there wasn't a lot of TV and radio, podcasts. What was a podcast? I started at the New York Post, one of the big tabloids here in the city, one of the big three. And I couldn't turn a computer on, but my racing knowledge and my connection certainly helped me land the gig. And I've spent plenty of time at thoroughbred tracks. I've spent plenty of time at harness tracks. Shoreline Star, now defunct in Connecticut. I've dabbled in greyhounds. I gave out the trophy for the big race up there 4 years in a row in the late 90s, early 2000s. So, yeah, if I'm at a racetrack, I'm at home. So the harness stuff, I covered plenty of Hambletonians and Meadowlands Paces for the New York Post, and I've always been a fan of harness. So, I like to I love joining the coverage on Fox for big harness days and nights.
That's great. What month is the Hambletonian?
It's usually in early August, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Whitney Day. I think it shares. It's a nice little doubleheader, Whitney and the Hamble, if I'm not mistaken. Don't hold me to that.
The Big A, seen on Fox Sports coverage of New York racing, which often includes a few other tracks. As usual, Anthony needs to keep up and likes to keep up on the other tracks. And then, of course, your NYRA duties as well, which pretty much commingle with Fox. So a great gig there. And I do miss you on various podcasts and radio shows, but I'll listen to this one when it's over with, and then I'll get my fix. But the Big A has done such great work for Northwest fans, picking winners. The Wood Memorial was just an amazing streak, but other tracks too, even California, when you dabbled out there. You mentioned early voting. You were on Him in the Wood. Epicenter and White Barrio have multiple wins at their venues and have done really well. But what about early voting? What's your thoughts on him now headed to the Kentucky Derby?
I would imagine, and I know Chad Brown and Clarvich Stables kind of on the fence here, I would imagine as well, and we'll talk about Zandon, as well as Zandon ran in the Bluegrass. I would imagine if they try a Triple Crown race with him, it'll be the Preakness. I know he's on the fence. He has more than enough points to qualify for the Derby. Chad Brown, he's not one of these guys who has to be there. He doesn't have to be there. The fact that he's going to be there with a horse that's going to be, I would imagine he's no worse than second choice Zandon, right? It's him and Epicenter in some order, maybe Taiba. So no worse than third choice, let's say, for argument's sake. I don't know if he's going to run early voting just to run early voting. I'll tell you what, the way some of those preps played out, it might be a little bit more appealing to run him because it looks like some of that speed fell by the wayside after the preps were run. So it'll be curious to see what Chad does. An educated guess would be they skip and go to the Preakness.
Fair enough. Yeah. With Zandon in there, and Zandon coming off a tremendous victory in the Bluegrass, and that was just a crazy win there, and he's lightly raced. So rate those top few horses in your mind right now. You're tremendous at that. Epicenter, Zandon, White Abarrio, Mo Donegal, Tiz the Bomb are the first 5 point leaders.
So let's start with Zandon, since we already discussed him a couple of times. Look, that move in the Bluegrass, and I know Keeneland's a lot less biased than it used to be, but if you can win from last at the 5/16 pole with Keeneland, you're obviously a serious racehorse. And this is a horse that Chad Brown's been high on since day one. He probably should have got put up in the Remsen. I thought him and Mo Donegal traded shoves, and he probably should have got put up in the Remsen. And then he didn't have the greatest of trips in the return in the Risen Star at the fairgrounds. He's the one that he kind of hopped at the start. Of all the horses out of that race, I think he was the one. Him and Smile Happy, and they come back and they run 1-2. Those are the two you were looking forward to seeing, I thought, out of that race. And then Epicenter flatters it with the win in the Louisiana Derby, and then they both come back and run very well in the Bluegrass. So if you told me I had to make a pick right now without seeing the draw, seeing how these horses train for the next, 2 weeks, I would pick Zandon.
Okay.
There's still enough speed in the race where I think he'll come running. And, he's the one, he's eating up ground at the end of the races. And that's something that's important. We're going to do a lot of stuff over at NYRA Bets for the Derby. And one of the things I'm going to put up is, a little bit of a different way to handicap. The Derby is such an interesting race to handicap. And the first thing, obviously, is the field size. But I think the second thing, and for me, it's the most important factor, is obviously none of these horses have been 1.25 miles. So you got to use the eye test. You can use pedigree to an extent. He, to me, right now, looks like the one that the 1.25 miles, I'm not saying it's what he's going to want necessarily, but right now it certainly looks like it's not going to bother him the way he eats up ground late in the game with some speed still signed on. So right now, I would rank him 1 and Epicenter 2.
Okay.
The fact that Epicenter, guys, was able to win the Risen Star on the front end, and then Joel Rosario got him to turn off for the first half of that Louisiana Derby and come from off the pace is key.
Yep.
It is so key. It's amazing because he looked like a horse that was not going to do that. And then he did it. And for me, when I go into a race and I say to myself, all right, there's no chance this horse is going to be able to rate, this horse is going to have a problem. And then he rates and wins as impressively as he did, it wows me.
Yeah.
So,
same with me. How many times do you say to yourself when you're looking at past performances, this horse has never passed a horse in his life? And then that's a little bit of a negative because it could come up in that way. But Epicenter passed that test. Vince, you had a comment?
Yeah, well, just from what I've been reading, Anthony, the most polarizing horse I think would be Taiba, a $1.7 million yearling, and let's face it, he ran a big race in the San Diego Derby against the small field, only his second career start, going a mile and 1/8. But something tells me you are not going to like him. I'm just guessing.
And you said it, Vince. So at the end of the day, he might be the most talented horse here. Because going from the maiden win, and yeah, it was a short field. What did he really beat? I don't know. I don't think he beat much. The fact that he was able to do it is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't care what he beat. But, Curlin couldn't win this thing with 3 starts. Is he Curlin? He's probably not Curlin.
Yeah.
And, it kind of reminds me the old NASCAR movie Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise, right? It's when he takes Rowdy Burns' car in the beginning of the movie and he beats the pole time and Michael Hook of the Act attention and says, "Now get your own car and we'll see how you do in the pack." Let's see what this horse does from a 6-horse field with a perfect trip at California to a 24-horse field in Louisville. Am I leaving him out? No, I can't leave him out. I think there's a chance he's the most talented horse in the race. But this is just, what they asked Epicenter to do by basically turning off for the first half mile, first 5/8 of a mile of the Louisiana Derby. This is a completely different kettle of fish. You're asking this horse to travel. You're asking this horse to go another 1/8 of a mile, and you're asking him to do it not against, he overmatched his rivals in his first 2 starts. That was apparent at in the starting gate in his maiden win and at the 3/16 pole of the Santa Anita Derby. He overmatched those horses. It's not like he's going to go in there and overmatch this field. He might be better, but he's not exponentially better like he was in those 2 races.
But the subplot with him being owned by the same people who own the ill-fated 2021 Kentucky Derby winner is kind of interesting too.
Yeah, the whole thing with Baffert and it adds a layer of intrigue. Yeah. That's for sure to the 2022 Kentucky Derby trail, right? But everything's kind of in a shambles when it comes to that, and we'll see if there's right. He's not Baffert, but he was with Bob. And now it's like everybody jokes around about having a horse of a lifetime every 3 years. This horse is the goods. Anybody who watches a horse race knows this horse is the goods. This is a tremendous ask. And it's a year where I don't know if you necessarily have a standout, but he'd almost be better off if there was, and I know it was a different kind of trail because of the pandemic. But, Tiz the Law was the clear-cut favorite in 2020. Mm-hmm. And then it was kind of the rest. It would almost be better if he had one to knock off. But he doesn't.
Yeah.
He has to deal with a handful of horses that have the same kind of ability / capability of moving forward. And to do it as inexperienced as he is in such a short amount of time at a short price. This horse was going to be 20-1 on the tote board. That's a different story.
Yeah.
He's going to be single digits in a race where maybe 3 horses are going to be in single digits. So
I like your
point. Kind of leads you to, I'm not saying you don't use him, but I don't know if he's going to be a lean for me.
Yeah. Now there's several horses that have been consistently good this year. Classic Causeway's out. He was good for a while, but there's still plenty that are in, like even Tiz the Bomb and of course the ones we mentioned. And then you can give us a horse that might be a little bit under the radar and maybe a comment on Smile Happy, who's running on but hasn't won in a while. Take it away.
I think he's the wild card's the wrong term.
Yeah.
Right? Wild card's the wrong term. I was actually surprised not to see him run the Santa Anita Derby presented by Run Happy, to be honest with you. As a son of Run Happy. Mm-hmm. I think he's the wild card in here because he certainly has the talent. He's going to be third off the bench, which I think is going to certainly help his cause. He has to find a couple of lengths on Zandon.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you this, much like Kaiba and the Santa Anita Derby, 10 or 11 at Keeneland is a lot different than 20 in Louisville. The odds of him getting a better trip than Zandon are pretty good. Certainly going to see less traffic, you would imagine, since he'll be in front of him. So one horse is going to be 8-1. One horse is going to be 18-1.
18, huh? I was going to ask you that. Okay.
He's got to be 20-1, right, guys? I mean, you just said it, Joe. He don't win.
Very possible.
He hasn't won this year.
Anthony,
he's got to be 18-20-1.
when you play the Derby, are you more of a super or a trifecta, or are you playing multiple races with a few horses in the Derby, or do you all of them? Because there's so many options in a big race like this.
Everything. Vince, you and I don't know each other as long as Joe and I do. I don't deal in any absolutes in horse racing. There's no absolutes for me. But Derby Day, for the most part, I'm a win better and a multi-race guy. On Derby Day, I bet everything because there's so much value in the exacta pools and the trifecta pools if your bankroll can allow it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of, just going back to 2019, I was able to, when High Kyle scratched, well, I was making a 5-horse box. When High Kyle scratched, I was making a 4-horse box. And between the DQ and High Kyle scratching, I was able to make a nice score just getting Country House in the gimmicks. And
I remember that.
Game Winner hits the super. I would hit the super on a 4-horse box. I'll play everything. I'll lean. So in my multis, and this is another thing we'll be doing over at NYRA Bets, we'll have tickets for all of the multi-day wagers out. You can go to NYRABets.com and you can find all the tickets. There'll be a ticket up for all of the 2-day multi-race wagers.
Okay, good to know.
My Derby tickets will lean heavily on Zandon and Epicenter.
Okay.
They'll lean heavily. And then in some of the other races, when I go thin on the backup tickets, I'll make a spread ticket in the Derby. The horse, see, it's funny. I feel like Barber Road is going to be the wise guy horse. He's making up ground at the end of all of these races at Oaklawn Park. He looks like that. He's another one. Looks like that 1.25 miles is going to be his friend rather than his foe. My problem with him is if this thing falls apart on the front end, I think Zandon is so much better than him. Now, listen, that's where Trip and some racing luck and the racing gods come into play, right? For those of you that don't believe in the racing gods, we'll leave it to Trip.
I do.
Of course you do. You're a horse player. Should. You're supposed to. Karma, luck, all of it. It all superstition. It all counts. That's where, but common sense. But again, Zandon's going to be 6-1 or 8-1 or whatever choice he's going to be, and Barber Road's going to be 25-1.
Uh-huh.
So, can he win? Yeah. Is he the most talented horse that's going to be running late? No. But if Zandon gets stuck behind a horse backing up, and Ray Lou Gutierrez is able to get Barber Road, a clean trip, he'd be the horse. He'll be on every one of my exotic tickets. He'll be on every exacta, tri, and superfecta tickets. Because he's the kind of horse, right? He's looking at Lee. He's the closer that gets the good trip and winds up second at 30-1 behind All Way You're Dreaming, whoever this year's All Way You're Dreaming is back in 2017. So he's a horse that'll be on all of my vertical wagers. I'd have to include him on one backup ticket in the multis because, again, I don't need him paying $50 and this thing completely collapsing on the front end and him getting that. Yeah. So, he'd be the big price. He'd be the balloon to get home. But it's just so hard for me to envision him with clean, assuming clean. So it's hard to. I never handicap a race thinking, oh, this one's going to get a bad trip. It's hard to envision him out kicking Zandon coming home, but maybe he does. Maybe Zandon doesn't want that extra eighth of a mile. This horse certainly looks like distance is not going to be a problem, but he's another one. He doesn't win. So that's a little bit of an issue for me.
Barber Road, no wins in 4 starts this year, but how many horses have placed in all 4 of Oaklawn's 3-year-old stakes races, which he has?
That's pretty
gotta be
impressive.
him,
That's
yeah.
pretty impressive. And that wasn't the strongest bunch down there, but usually when the bunch isn't strong, they're not consistent. He's been consistent.
That's right.
And if he can bring that consistency to Louisville, he's a horse that will offer some value in the exotics, in the verticals. And again, if you get him home on top, he's got to pay $45. That means going to be 20 to 1.
Definitely.
I mean, I'd have to imagine he's in the 20 to 1 range, depending on how the field shakes out the next week or so.
Anthony, the Big A Stabile, and when can one catch your tickets at NYRA Bets?
They'll be up Friday. They'll be up Friday morning.
This Friday.
We'll have advanced wagering over at NYRA Bets on the Derby. Actually, they'll be up Thursday because we'll have advanced wagering. We usually have advanced wagering on the Oaks card, so they'll be up. That's Thursday, May 5th. You can celebrate Cinco de Mayo by taking a look at some tickets, and yeah, there'll be plenty of blogs up, plenty of content. We're going to be tweeting out some Derby contenders, much like we did tonight. We'll be tweeting out some Derby contender videos as well. My colleague and partner on Talking Horses, Andy Sterling, will do his full analysis of the Derby. I'll do it a little differently. I'll spotlight some runners, like I said, just like we did tonight. We'll tweet that out. You could follow us at NYRA Bets on Twitter. You could follow me at the Big A Stabile on Twitter.
Yep.
And there's always a lot of good content on there, especially this time of year. We actually had a little bit of a meeting today talking about that Derby content, and really, really looking forward to getting things rolling. So, looking forward to it, and it should be a great couple of weeks until the Run for the Roses.
Quick answer, Anthony. I was telling Joe the Oaks looks like it's great this year. Anyone you prefer there right now?
I'm a loyalist, Vince. As Joe knows, I got my guys and my gals that I stick with through thick and thin. You want to give me 4 to 1 on Echo Zulu? I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it, especially the profile of that race. You usually want to be up front unless it completely collapses. And I know there's some other speed in that race, but you know what? Joel was able to get I was about to say Empire Maker. I don't know why Empire Maker's on the brain. I'm a funny side guy. Joel was able to get Epicenter to turn off. I'd be very curious to see if he can't clear, if he can get her to kind of nurse it along. I'm not gonna, and listen, I haven't made any money with her, but I've been impressed with her since the day she dazzled in her debut. She's the one right now. And again, that's the kind of race where I think you do have to wait. You won't. In a year like this, you almost have to wait to see post positions in that race, even though it's a more regularly run race than the Derby. Just because if she gets stuck in 14, she's going to have to rate or really go fast to clear. But I think a lot of people are dismissing her and saying, she's going to make this forward from 2 to 3. That's not what I saw in that race down at the fairgrounds. I saw a gutsy effort, and I think she's going to move way up off that race.
Fair enough. Still undefeated.
Yeah, you get a fair price on a champ.
Okay. Yep. Anthony, hey, so good. Derby week. Check out NYRABets.com for some tickets Thursday, Friday of that week. And Anthony will be he'll be backing up his opinions for sure. So great to have you on. First time here in 2022. And congratulations on your career upswing as well, Anthony.
Guys, it was a pleasure. I'm assuming we'll have the Beast of the Belmont on for the Test of the Champion, Joe.
Please reserve a little time for us that week.
Always. Joe,
Okay.
I say this all the time. You people out in the Pacific Northwest and now across the country have the pleasure of having a real national racing treasure in Joe Withey. Joe is one of the most knowledgeable and passionate racing guys I have ever come across. We've never met in person.
No.
But Joe is one of my favorite people on the planet. And when I didn't have a calling card and I didn't have a job, Joe still valued my opinion and my love and passion for the game, and had me on the Win Play show probably more often than any other guest he had. Yep. Certainly more than one that was unemployed for most of the time, was a stay-at-home son. And I can never thank him enough for that.
And Anthony, he's now Washington Racing Hall of Fame member, Joe Withey.
I do know that, and it's as well deserved as any member of any Hall of Fame on this planet, because I don't know too many people. No one loves this game more. There might be some that love it as much, but no one loves this game more than Joe Withey, and it's my honor and privilege to come and join you guys on the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anthony, for the very kind words. And hey, we just like listening to what you have to say. That right from the beginning, when he picked the winner of the Spiral Stakes at Turfway in his first ever appearance back about 04.
Citizen G.
Yeah. You betcha. Anthony, have a great lead up to the Derby. We'll talk to you before the Belmont.
You too. Happy Derby, everyone.
Thanks to Anthony Big A Stabile from New York City. And again, he's part of those NYRA broadcasts now. And just a little bit before the end of this segment, Sport Shorts, I got a quick one. Golf. I was watching Greg Norman last night. And Paul Azinger in the 1993 PGA Championship. Norman lost the playoff to Azinger that year. Norman has lost a playoff in all 4 major championships. And I was...
Did he win any of them?
Yeah, he won the British Open twice. And Craig Wood did the same thing back in the 30s and 40s. So pretty rare feat there. You got to be good to get in a playoff for a major. Greg Norman and Craig Wood have lost all 4 majors in playoffs. And it'll probably be a while before anybody joins that. Vince?
That's pretty hard to top. Okay, I don't want to sound like an old guy yelling at clouds here, but I'm going to a little bit. I've been a baseball fan my whole life. One of my pet peeves now, the games take a long time, routinely over 3 hours, and you'll see a team that has 4 hits, and it was against 6 different pitchers or something. They go 4 innings and 1. Okay, the 1966 World Series, this is a 2-part question. How many pitchers did the Baltimore Orioles use in the whole series, and how many relief pitchers did they use?
Well, Mo Dabrowski had 13 strikeouts in Game 1, something like that, in relief. But they had Jim Palmer, Wally Bunker, Dave McNally. They won the last 2 games 1-0.
Yeah,
I was
you're
a
doing
kid.
great.
I was an Oriole fan, but Mo Dabrowski would be the only reliever I could name.
That's correct.
What?
You got it. They used 4 pitchers in the entire series, 3 starters and 1 reliever. Where I wrote the game. They won Game 1. Okay, Dabrowski came in relief of McNally and threw 6 2/3 innings, as you said. McNally starter went 2 1/3. Then in Game 2, Palmer a 4-hit shutout. Game 3, Wally Bunker a 6-hit shutout. Game 4, McNally a 4-hit shutout. Dang. 33 straight scoreless innings. And listen to these times of games. The first game would be the quote marathon, 2 hours and 56 minutes. Game 2, 2 hours, 26 minutes. Game 3, 1 hour, 55 minutes. Game 4, 1 hour, 45 minutes. Nowadays, these games take 4 hours, and they use 13 pitchers. And I'm still a baseball fan, but boy, the game has changed a lot. You watch the videos from back then, the guys got the ball and they threw it. The batters didn't step out of the box, and the game zipped along. Wow. But anyhow, 1 relief pitcher, 4 total pitchers.
Yeah, I was in junior high, and I hated the Dodgers because they embarrassed the Yankees in the '63 World Series. So I was really happy that week when the Orioles shut down Koufax and Drysdale. So I think that was Koufax's last year, I believe. Was he in that series? I think he was.
Yeah, because in '65 against the Twins, he had a big series there. Yeah.
Okay, there's a couple sports shorts, and let's take a break. We're going to come back with Mike Puhich here on Horse Racing Northwest. Horse Racing Northwest continues. Thanks for joining us via video and audio now on Horse Racing Northwest. It's Wednesday of the week, 3.5 weeks to the start of Emerald Downs. And there's going to be a significant horse sale in the Northwest and nationwide next week because of the passing of Glen Todd. as Glen passed away a few weeks ago. To say huge, influential in British Columbia racing, how about nationwide racing and sales in Washington and racing in Washington? He won the mile here. Mike Puhich knew him very well. And Mike, I know that's one of the first things you mentioned. Boy, he sent you to the Washington August sale last summer and said, buy a few down there. I want to support those breeders too. And that was Glen Todd, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, every year he supported every year. He bought horses every year out of the Washington sale, as Canada and Kentucky, but that was always his main goal, was to just kind of play a role and support racing in the Pacific Northwest and especially Western Canada. But he was just a player all the way around, you know, and he was just more importantly, he was just a very, very good, generous, wonderful person. You know, he had a very, very dear friend.
Very dear friend of yours. He had the means, and he put it right back into racing. And you guys, him and Mark DiDomenico became friends, along with you, getting them together, and you guys really supported the Longacres Mile in the last 10 years with horses like, Mr. Bowling and Hoist, and winning it with Taylor Said and Mario Gutierrez being involved in those, along with Troy Taylor, his Canadian-based trainer. But and then his influence, he offered that $1 million interest-free loan to the racing industry last year to make sure Hastings had a meet, and I mean things like that. And playing the slot machines up there, wagering on the races. And after Troy retired, and unfortunately Troy Taylor passed away a couple of years ago, Glen liked to come out in the morning and train his own, didn't he?
Yeah, he was. He just loved to be involved. He loved the action, and he was a guy that had the means. He loved the game, and I used to joke with him, all of his horses, he'd buy all these horses that belonged on the East Coast around 1.8 miles, 1.25 miles, and he'd take them up to Canada and run them 3.5 furlongs, and, he'd fill races, and he wanted to take a nuclear weapon to a knife fight, and he would drop them in after a race or two if he had to. He'd drop them all the way to the bottom and win by 10, and that was just Glen. I mean, he just loved the action. He loved to win, and he was a competitor, and but he also was a big supporter. He was going to be a very, very big loss to horse racing in general. You just don't have people like that in the game anymore.
Boy, he is absolute a rare bird, as with his total involvement in British Columbia and huge involvement here in Washington, and it's impossible to measure at this point the loss of Glen Todd. And he had a lot of horses to look forward to this year. And Mike, and you've been in charge and working with Fasig-Tipton to disperse 31 horses of Glen's, which will start a week from today, April 27th, an online auction. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I mean, Fasig-Tipton, we're gonna consign the horses, so they'll all be here at the farm here at Pegasus. And then Fasig-Tipton is gonna put it on. It's a digital sale. Anybody that's interested in registering to bid can go to the digital.fasigtipton.com, and there'll be some instruction on there. We're just in the process of getting all that stuff up and running, but there is information on there. We are also going to be hosting some training viewing days here at the farm on April 22nd, 23rd, 25th, and 26th from 11 a.m. People want to see them come out and see them train. They start training at 11 a.m. and they have till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They can look at them and on the end of a shank and check them out. And that's by RSVP only. You have to call up. We're kind of putting a cap on each and every day, but they can call our office at Pegasus Training Center and set up an appointment for one of those days.
425-898-1060. 425-898-1060 is the number to set up an appointment to view training.
Right, or they can email us at info@pegasustrainingscenter.com.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's very, very unfortunate and sad circumstances. But it was, it's the end of an era. And actually, I want to congratulate Sandy Gann. She yesterday was Glen Todd's official last time starter. Filly by the name of Red Bottom Rebel, who I claimed back in Hot Springs last year for him for $20,000. Instead of putting her in the sale, Sandy had her down there, and we just kind of agreed, let's just do what Glenn would do under circumstances, is drop her to the bottom and leave no doubt, which Sandy did a great job. There were 22 claims in her, and she won by 12.5 lengths, and that's exactly Glen Todd. That was when she was drawing clear, turning for home. I was already dialing Sandy's number and said, that's Glenn right there. He'd rather win one of those races than a grade 1, just like that. So it was kind of bittersweet, but it's the end of an era, and they went out winners.
Mike, there's some nice horses too. I mean, I think Prison Princess of Cairo included. She was very good here at Emerald Downs the last couple of years with the Distaff and the
2 for 2,
Oaks and
Stakes.
horses like 5-Star General, who
we saw on the video leading in here.
Very nice horse. There's some good horses.
General. Yeah, he's 7 for 18 lifetime starts, 7 wins, 18 starts. He's run second and third in the Longacres Mile. So I know he would be very, very, very. I know he'd go through this sale very high if Glenn were trying to buy him, because that's we spent a lot of money partnerships with Glenn trying to find this kind of horse for the Longacres Mile. So if anybody locally is looking for a mile horse, this horse is tailor-made for it. He's here in your own backyard. I think there's a lot of there should be a lot of interest in him. I think, and he's just really he's doing as well as ever, and he's going to be a complete competitor for the mile. So that's pretty exciting.
It is.
Like you said, Princess of Cairo, she won the Washington Oaks. Emerald Distaff. That she likes to be on a mile racetrack. Her better races are over a mile racetrack, so there's some value there. And then there's a filly named Broad Approval, another one. You get her on the mile track. She was stakes placed twice at Emerald.
Right.
So
and
the Oaks and
2-year-olds by Street Sense, Cairo Prince, Liam's Map, Taprit, Tonalist, The Factor, Harbor the Gold. Yearlings by the likes of Bernardini, Outwork, Palace Malice, Connect, 31 horses in all. Glen Todd Dispersal starts online next Wednesday, April 27th at 9 a.m. Pacific, and it ends on May 3rd at 11 a.m. Pacific. And go to digital.fazigtipton.com, and no reserves as well, Mike, correct?
Yeah, no reserves. Everything's there to sell. There's no reserves, and it's it's a unique sale where you can kind of watch the bidding for 5 days.
Sure.
So that's kind of a different take on it. But that's Fasig Tipton. This is a kind of a new deal for them, and this seems to be the wave of the future. But we'll also, as soon as we can, we were kind of, this is all happening kind of fast, but we completed our video version today. They've all been x-rayed. There's going to be digital scoping. You can see this. You can have your vet go online, look at the vet reports, look at the x-rays, also see confirmation shots of the horses walking to and from, profile pictures.
Nice.
And then last but not least, galloping on the racetrack. They've all completed the vetting and the videos, and that should be up. I'm going to say it's going to be fairly close before we go up and running live, but we're hoping to get it done by first part of next week.
Okay, yeah. The sale starts again a week from today, April 27th. So you guys got time to get those up there, and the sale does go for 6 days, April 27th to May 3rd. Like Mike says, you can jump in later if you want, before bidding is done, on some really nice horses and some potentially probably great horses in the Glen Todd Horse Dispersal. And unfortunately, this needs to be done at this time because Glenn passed, and he'll be talked about forever in horse racing in the Northwest. And Mike, I just want to say, hey, you're having a good winter. A distraction for you is well over 20% win end at Oaklawn this winter and spring. And congratulations, the mile winner looked great last time out, winning one of those $100,000 allowances at Oaklawn. Good stuff for background.
Yeah, thank you. He's really he's having a really good year, and we're kind of hoping to carry on with that. We're going to try to get one more race in him there at Oaklawn before the meet ends, and then go on and try him on the turf, I think, in Kentucky, and see what happens.
Okay. Boy, he is an ace miler, isn't he? Vince brought that up in an earlier segment, but, put the best horse on the lead once in a while, and he handled that with ease. And, of course, he won the mile almost impossibly from where he was at the top of the stretch with a strong finish. So you got a real versatile horse there. Yeah,
he really is. He just shows up every time, and you just love to have a horse like that. And we've been blessed to have him, and I'm thankful Bob stepped up and bought him and let me continue to train him. He's just a really special horse to all of us.
Great story, indeed. Background and. Glen Todd, the Glen Todd Dispersal, again, starts Wednesday, April 27th online at digital.fazigtipton.com. Goes from Wednesday, April 27th to Tuesday, May 3rd. Mike, thanks so much for the info, and we'll see you at the track.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it, and thanks for the time on this. And hopefully we can have some more exciting times this summer.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks to Mike. And speaking about his very good friend Glen Todd and that horse dispersal sale, Glen unfortunately passing away at age 75 a few weeks back. A couple other passings in the industry, not our favorite segment here, Vince, but Breno DeFeo passed away, a real football star at Kennedy High School in the late 70s and played for the UW. Yep. I know you covered the UW.
I remember the name quite well, especially growing up. His name was in the paper a lot as a star,
He loved horse racing, the game. He worked at several local auto dealerships here in Auburn for his family and worked at Bow and Scar Ford, I know, recently. Breno passed away at age 59 a couple weeks ago. And a very tragic loss just earlier this week. Chris Eklund, jockey agent, and actually, he worked for Kathy Coffey and Lori Smith in our customer service department our first year doing fan education here.
Yeah.
Very good friend of Wayne McDonald's and that family. And in and around our game, working in the food service industry, Chris had a car accident and complications from that. I know maybe some of you are hearing this for the first time, but a tragic loss. Married to Carrie Steiner, Joe and Sally's daughter. Chris Eklund passing away at age 62. So, Marin Foal pictures. Here is a shot, if you're looking at our our video at Emerald Downs section of YouTube, Emerald Downs, Horse Racing Northwest, podcast video. This is a Barkley Flowers for Tegan colt bred by Gary Lusk and Ashley Potts. Of course, Ashley, Vince Gibson's assistant. And Flowers for Tegan won 4 out of 15. She's a Flower Alley filly, so they have a colt there by Barkley, and he's got the nice white face. And Bar C Racing, well, Vince, you've written a lot about Harbor the Gold. We've spoken about him a lot. His name is entrenched in Washington racing history. He has 2 more crops this year and next year, and a couple of his young ones there with their moms down at Bar C in Hermiston, Oregon. So more Harbor the Gold's on the way. That's good for Washington racing.
And we mentioned background. Well, the horse he edged out in the mile, Wind Ribbon, on the track today at Emerald Downs, had his 4th work already, a half and 48 flat over a wet, fast track. I'd imagine he'll be online for the June 26th Budweiser Stakes. That's the first one for older horses. El Alto Hombre, you remember that name?
Yes.
7-year-old gelding was
Grants Pass superstar.
Won 6 stakes races in Oregon last year. Well, he's here at Emerald, and he worked 4 furlongs on Monday and 49 and 4. So that'll be interesting to see how he fits.
Who
with
trains
the local
him?
Horses. Liz Kowalski.
Okay.
The owner of that horse died just before the season started last year at Grants Pass, and it was really kind of an incredible story. As you mentioned, he became the star attraction down at Grants Pass. A couple other notables, Coron, who's unbeaten,
State champion, 2-year-old filly.
Yeah, she's already had 5 works. She went 5 furlongs in a minute flat. Saw some of the K. Cooper stable people out watching this morning. And then Dutton, he's been up to his 3rd work, a half and 47 flat. That was on Sunday. See how he bounces back. Of course, our horse of the meet in 2020, sometimes we see it, that 2-year-old to 3-year-old transition didn't work out great for him, but he's training like he might be ready for a good 4-year-old campaign.
That's great. Great to hear. And, you know, I was standing right next to Blaine Wright when Wind Ribbon worked this morning, and right at the end of the work, he goes, perfect. He had Coco on him because he likes to go really fast, and Coco can kind of gear him down enough not to let him go too fast too early. So Wind Ribbon, one of the fastest times at the meeting last year.
And boy, he runs great off the bench too. So I'll be looking forward to his first out this year.
Okay, speaking of fast times, and Vince gave away one of the answers earlier, name a horse that had 3 fastest times at one meeting at Emerald Downs in our track history. So 3 fastest times at the same meeting, and nobody came up with that answer. So come on, let's go. Trivia@emeralddowns.com. Ed Nader in 2000. It's Tough to Be Good, marathon races in 05. Starbird Road in 06. All sprints. Wasserman in 08, his mile year, and O.B. Harbor in 2016. All 5 of those horses had 3 of the fastest times at the meeting, which is pretty darn good. Okay, that's last week's question. And this week, again, trivia@emeralddowns.com. You mentioned the transition from 2 to 3. How about a transition from 3 to 4? Name the most recent time the 3-year-old of the meeting at either Longacres or Emerald Downs won the mile the next year. And the fact that I throw Longacres in there, you might think that you got to go back that far. So the most recent time, the top 3-year-old of the meeting, doesn't have to be a wash and bred, won the mile the next year at either Emerald Downs or Longacres. So it's a fairly rare occurrence, but send your answers to trivia@emeralddowns.com. We'll get a prize for you. And Kentucky Derby, May 7th. Looking forward to that. And, of course, before that, the Glen Todd Horse Dispersal. And keep in mind the Emerald Racing Club. Give Vince a contact. And maybe not just for yourself, but for a friend, just $200. $500 gets you in for the whole season. No other payments, which as a horse owner, we all know that they cost a little bit more than that to maintain. They've got to be fed and trained and get the best care. So Emerald Racing Club, contact Vince Bruin for that. That's about it for today. Huh?
I think so. We covered a lot of ground. Yeah.
Okay, thanks to Cy, our producer-editor. He's probably going to show a picture of him up there, a glamorous picture of Cy LeVar, but that's fine too. Hey, thanks for listening and watching Horse Racing Northwest.